Lives, you've contributed a lot to society, but tell us some of the challenges when something has gone wrong and what has informed you, how it's informed you in your work and in your life and your approach. And I'm not trying to destroy your business, so you don't have to tell us the gory details, but I need to know some of those examples because we know that we live in an imperfect system here. You know, nothing is well designed already, so we inherited that already, and traffic every day, all that. So give us something concrete that has not quite worked the way you would have liked it to, or that you have been part of or you have seen, and then and what it tells you and how is
watching Francis Karen, who I have great respect for as an architect, and David Ajay. So when I got the invite, it was really, I was wondering what can I even offer and what is Joe thinking about. But I'm happy to be here. I think the question is, you know, why does design matter? So it's important to define design in some sort of sense. You read a lot and all the great architects have some description for design, but I think for me, the description of what design is came some 4 years ago when I was running an internship in the office, and one of the many students who came by, because every time I kept saying good design. So again, for the topic, manifest, if you allow me, I think it's why good design matters, because there's also bad design. So I'm just trying to get it right. He kept asking, what is good design? And I think I sat there for about a minute and thought about it mathematically, and then wrote an equation. You know, that good design is equal to good design, but remove one O and it becomes the God design. And I think what I told him was that, you know, design is linked to nature. Everything that man has created has come from that inspiration. And I link it strongly to that creator, God, who puts it in us. I mean, people call it genius, but it gets to a point where you have to come up with an idea, and sometimes, I don't know if you share with me, you sleep and wake up the next morning and everything is resolved in some sort of manner. You need that genius, you need that spark. So that became my definition, which simply also goes to say that it's linked to everything that we see. It's everything around us is designed. The chairs you are sitting in is designed. The clothes you are wearing is designed. The lights, the lighting system, the building we are in is designed. So design is really critical when you think about it. When I read it, one of the descriptions that came out that made it drive it even home was that design is intelligence made visible. All right. So everything that we do, everything that is in our mind, we have to be able to find a way of articulating that to explain, you know, our feelings, our emotions, our concepts, and our philosophies. And going to your question about how it is we have to approach it, I'm a stickler for anybody who comes to my office. It's really about the philosophy and the concept that you are about. If that concept and philosophy doesn't really resound with what we are doing, it's going to be very hard for us to work together. And I mean that for clients and for students. So I think that philosophy is a very critical, and it's a very simple thing. I think throughout teaching, people sort of confuse it, but I think it's very simple. It's your belief system. So if you're a Muslim, you're a Muslim. That's your philosophy. If you're a Christian, you're a Christian. But when you come into architecture, we start sort of linking it to, you know, the modernist movement, contemporary architecture, brutalist, you know, all the various types. So that is the core. You need to sort of have what you are about, and then based on what a client's, based on what a client's brief is, based on what a client's site and location is, and all the research that you do, you need to sort of take all of that in mix with your philosophy and create a concept that suits its budget. So, I mean, in relating it to architecture and skewing in, I think that this is my response to what architecture is and what design is.
I did make some money out of it, I must confess. That's because probably people thought me I was scandalous, that I was a attention seeker. My hair was 25 different colors and all that kind of things. And at the time, Ghana was pretty conservative. Now you're walking around with lovely locks and everybody thinks you're normal. Back in the day, they would have thought you are wulomo or fetish, or you were smoking joints every night, And so, yeah, apart from the technical aspect of it, of course, we, at some stage, if we want to, we can distinguish between artists and designers, because design must be functional. If it's a bad design, it wouldn't work. Design means you have a target, you are doing something with a purpose. Art is not always so. Art is its own purpose. It's emotional, it's mysterious, and it's a goal in itself. However, when you talk of design, it seems more purposeful, more orchestrated, and it has to be done in such a way that it can be. If it's not useful, if it's not functional, if it's not beneficial, then it's a useless design. And we don't use that same kind of criteria for art. We need both. And to be a good designer, you definitely must be an artist. As far as I'm concerned, everybody must be an artist before they can be anything else. You need to be an artist to be a chef. You need to be an artist to be a horticulturist. You need to be an artist to be a mason, where the walls will be crooked. You need to be you need to be an artist to be a plastic surgeon. You need to be an artist to do anything that you do in life. You need to be an artist to be a writer, to be a poet, to be a singer. So basically what we don't realize is that we're actually, those of us who are good at what we do, it's because we are artists, primarily. So we are all artists. So to round it off, basically, I think art, design, two sides of the same coin, inseparable. And we need design because basically it's the only way to innovation. It's the only way to progress. Kofi Ansa said I shouldn't use the word wood. Every epoch had its own design. So, when we talk of, I did mention this to Augustus, and actually in certain languages, when you say something is designed, in Ghana, in Africa, custom-made clothes are relatively much more affordable than anywhere else. So for me, I think, in Europe, I know it's a luxury because it costs so much money to make a dress, go to see. I mean, who goes to designers to have dresses made for them? But here we have this luxury. So I never understood why, if I have access to somebody like Kofi Ansa, why would I go and want him to do the same dress that he did for somebody when he could do something unique?
I get the sense that you've done quite a lot of work in Francophone countries. And I was wondering why, but then I'm also wondering how you found the Francophone market and what kind of sense do you get about the difference between maybe some of the styles we have in Anglophone Africa as compared to what we have in Francophone Africa.
Surf the net to network with the French-speaking people and designers. And basically what I realized after my initial visits to Francophone world is that they actually perceive and respect and deem fashion designers as artists. And if if you remember what I said initially, I think of myself more of an artist than a dressmaker. I did not go to fashion school, I can't really call myself a proper seamstress, to be honest. I've always been more interested in the artistic aspect of clothing. So what I did was I employed people who could cut and who could stitch. And I know that if I were to give that same piece of cloth to them without guiding them or giving them ideas, they'd never come up with the same ideas. So basically, I'm the artistic director. The concepts are mine. I take credit for the clothes, even if I didn't stitch them. And I like the idea that in Francophone Africa, people were calling people like Kofi and myself les créateurs. They were calling us les artistes, as opposed to tailor or seamstress. Now, when I say this, I do not mean any disrespect, because I must say, I probably would never have survived in my business without tailors and seamstresses. So having said that, I just want to create a very clear distinction between people who are purely artists and who come up with ideas, and people who are technical, who realize our concepts and our dreams, and upon whom we actually depend, people like myself. Yes, indeed, in Francophone Africa, they veer more towards couture fashion when it comes to runway. And in Anglophone Africa, it's more about pret-a-porter and ready-to-wear, casual sort of fashion. I have done both, actually. Interestingly enough, the few times that I tried to do casual, because probably folks are so used to seeing eclectic, weird, I don't know, over-the-top things from me. The few times that I did try to make quote-unquote wearable clothes, it was too Ghana. It was like, this is not me. This is like the next designer. People were not expecting to see those kind of clothes from me. Basically, where I put myself, that I created that kind of expectation. And for me, it was more fun, honestly. What I did was, in my shop, I had very wearable clothing, and I did that purely, it wasn't clothes that I didn't like, because I told you from the word go, my philosophy is that, my clothes are my children. So no matter how simple the dress is, I still have to love it. And so yes, I did clothes. I knew that I wasn't in Ghana, so you have to consider the context. It was a business. I did have to sell because I had bills to pay like anybody else. And when it came to fashion shows, that was the opportunity for me to go wild and do all the clothes that I couldn't possibly sell to normal people, because I understood that folks here are conservative and they wouldn't wear those kind of clothes. So for me, it was a bit of like a split personality kind of thing, where I could very well do a very elegant, simple. I can confess that most of the money that I did in this business was from selling very simple, wearable clothing to middle-aged, middle-class people. Clothes, most of my clients were people who worked for UN agencies, diplomats, African expatriates working for different, all those kind of, and these are not people who wear, dresses with frills and pink roses and whatnot and paillettes all over the place, So I had to make clothing that was elegant. Those are probably not the clothes that you see on my site, but then that's because I wanted fun, crazy stuff to be out there on my site. But it doesn't mean I'm incapable of making something elegant. Kofi sir here is dying to have a shirt of mine. It's just I hope
So Ryan, do you have a lot of work to do?
And we really need to study the effects of design to use it to improve our lives. I'm a disciplinarian when it comes to design. I am a perfectionist. When I make a garment to put it on someone, it has to look like that garment was made for that person. She didn't go and borrow it, and so sometimes the client will say, oh, but Kofi looks okay, and I go, no, it is not okay. It is not your design. You are just borrowing this garment here to wear. The only difference is you paid me for that privilege. But I'm jealous of my design. So to me, design is life. As my young architect friend here said earlier on, I dabbled in a bit of architecture in my spare time, so that was lost on me over there. It's just a discipline. So how we use it to create a productive existence, maybe that's what we're going to discuss tonight. That's my take on it.
For me, so can you make it real for us? Can you make us know what good design looks like, what it feels like? Give us some examples in your work and in your view of what that is. And I'd like to start with Augustus this way.
So a lot of young architects, and I'm sure many of them in the audience, will tell you a client will approach and show you an image. All right? I saw this here and I want this. And I'm thankful to say I've never done that. It's a very hard thing to do because you're going to lose a lot of people who just don't understand what it is. But I think I'll relate it to ourselves as individuals. And I was telling B earlier that I think everybody wants to be unique. And I'll throw the question out to the ladies in the crowd. If you came here wearing, and I was asking B, if you came here with this outfit, and we came here and we saw somebody dressed exactly like that. That wasn't the answer you gave to me. But you won't be too excited about it. You want to feel unique, and that is evident in everybody. And then
not to stop you, but can you tell us what we're seeing? Can you go back so that before you continue, because
let him keep rolling. I'll come to so I'm sort of laying a foundation. So I've realized that everybody wants to be unique, and it's important then to realize that not everybody wears everything. Right? There are people who love. I love looking at his work. I was excited to see him on the panel, and just wanted to discuss what it was. And also these work because it's really just out there. But it's not everybody who would like what they are doing. Alright? So immediately a designer needs to realize that he has his niche market. I relate it to having friends. There are those who like you. There are those who don't like you or who can't get along with you. So the first thing is you have to realize that just as you look, you have those who like you. If you're a designer, it's the same thing. There are those who would flow with your philosophy. So it's for you to keep pushing that agenda and making sure that you meet those people. For me, I believe in simplicity. And that's a very complex word in itself. But I believe that one has to go to the bare bones. I believe in timelessness. I think that for some of the most beautiful buildings in our landscape, like the Scott House, and I think nobody here who knows the Scott House will say it's not a beautiful building. I was happy to realize that the Scott House was done in 1957. And even now, you would wonder if it was built yesterday. That timelessness spoke to me. I was lucky, I went to school at North Realization. And every day as I drove past that building, I've said this on many platforms, it spoke to me. And I think it's because of it reducing all of it to its objective. And so that's my philosophy. I try to create spaces that will resound with a lot more people and will touch them. And the only way it does that is for you to objectify. If you subjectify and you use yellow or red, if somebody doesn't like it, he's wondering, do I really like this? So that sort of governs the design philosophy that we sort of play with over at Mobius Architecture, which is the firm that I run with Sam and in attendance. Now, with that in mind, we don't start with the form in mind. We take what the client is looking for and we try to resolve the problem. We try to look at the brief and we analyze that brief, okay? And then we look at the best material. So it's a discussion. The project that you are showing right now is a project I call The Bridge. And the client is in the audience, Madam Aiwa Afifa Taylor. If I was in English, then this week. The reason why I mention her is that she's, for me, an exceptional client who understood the philosophy. And trust me, nothing you see there has changed. The building is in East Legon. We believe that we can change the building, the landscape one building at a time. So we went into a neighborhood and we sort of asked all the questions. We saw all that was good about it and all that was bad about it. Actually, there was an existing building on site. And through a lot of analysis, I wanted to work with the existing building. We wanted to do a new building. So we sort of approached it, in 2 weeks. And when she saw this product, everything changed. And that's what we as designers must do. We must challenge what we see. It's a building that sits in the landscape and people, I'm sure you've had so many people go there and ask who designed this. And that's also a problem because in their minds, that's why I think you asked, did you design that? Because good design shouldn't come from Ghana, in some sense. I'm just relating to other things. But people think when they see certain things, it shouldn't be coming. We are not a design-oriented sort of people, but I believe that we are. And I think that as one designs these spaces, whose philosophies are based on everything that is radical, the bottom of the building is so open, and it's going to be exactly like that, because I believe that first of all, God made us for a garden. If you read the Bible, it doesn't talk about creating a building for man. He put him in a garden. So I drive around and I see all these buildings that sort of cut you off from nature. And for the likes of me, I've never understood it. I've never understood it because we have the best weather in these parts. we have a great weather. It doesn't snow here. It doesn't get to very bad temperatures, cold or warm. And why do we then cut ourselves off? We're very colorful people. We love playing on the outside. So those are some of the ideas that we started playing with this, from, and also what the client wanted. So it was sort of the master of what you survey, isn't it? If you're on a ship, the captain stands on the bridge. So that's why we call it the bridge, because upstairs is the master bedroom. And it plays with just simplicity, light, lines. It's very complex in structure. I mean, we've done very interesting things in that building, and it's not easy to just perceive by what it is you see. So I believe in intelligence, and that's how I approach design. I think that the African is complex. I was just discussing with B that one of the projects we want to engage in is taking Edinkra symbols, right? Now that's frightening, just hearing that. But not traditionally just putting them on the wall. Because I think that is too literal. That's the baser instincts, isn't it? We are more complex people. So it's taking those symbols and their meaning.
I would like to get to you, please. What does, make it more concrete for us, what does good design, what does design look like and feel like to you in your work and in your world?
Okay, in my world, I think a good design is one that flatters the person that I'm made an outfit for. Therefore, I can make the most gorgeous dress or something that, I think it's better than Christian Dior. But if whoever I made it for doesn't look good in it, then all my efforts, everything was completely futile. So for me, in that sense, because the nature of my work, just like obviously Fianza and Augustus here, I'm doing something for somebody, it has to look good on them. Now, a perception and culture is very important. I must mention that I did grow up outside of Ghana, so it's very possible that maybe my study or reconnect with the culture, understand what people value, the symbols, the colors. Apart from that, of course, I do think that white look great on black people and black looks great on white people. I mean, that's the basic, you know what I mean? I had a lot of issues initially when I decided to plunge into fashion. When people came to me and I thought I was, doing the right thing by giving them advice, and a lot of times inadvertently and unwillingly ended up offending them. I was not tactless, I was just trying to be, I guess in a way I'm kind of sort of straightforward. I've tried to polish that a bit over the years and say, politically correct things, and so basically a lot of times I've had issues, or not issues, I've had instances rather, where I've tried to advise people and tell them that this is more flattering. This will bring out your beautiful, gorgeous bust and your amazing lips and whatever, and fantastic calves. But then some folks were very set in their ways. So I was torn between being an artist and being a commercial person and being a salesperson, because I was running a business and I wanted to sell. But at the same time, somebody walking out of my shop having left so much money, and yet I felt they didn't really quite look like, I wasn't going to be happy bumping into them in town or being proud or saying that I'm the one who did it. It bothered me a lot. I must be honest. It really, really bothered me. And so I had to find ways. I almost became like a psychologist, like basically conning people into trying to wear something that I thought would flatter the person. Because we do come from a culture, and Augustus here just mentioned it, where Mr. Mensah saw Mr. Ansa's house and he likes it, so he wants the same thing. I had the same issues, Madam Mary went to church and saw Miss Agnes wearing a dress and comes to me and says she wants the same thing. And morphologically, they are completely two different human beings, in terms of shape, in terms of color. And here I am busy trying not to offend Miss Agnes and tell her that you look like a cupboard in this outfit, And it was really difficult. It truly was, because I wanted to be proud and happy, But then at the same time, I kept asking myself, am I trying to project my sense of what is beautiful on somebody. So it's very delicate. You need to, I don't know what Uncle Ansar here would say afterwards, but for me, it was a learning process, and it was, of course, at some point, some customers probably just stopped coming to me, or sometimes when they came to the shop and I wasn't there, then that's a different thing, because I did have a rack with clothes, so I didn't participate in them choosing. They would pick up something, and even then, I would bump into them at Golden Tulip, and try to tell them, oh, why don't you come by the shop and this and that, and then when they come, if I can, when you come and bring the dress, I have some interesting ideas, so I would try and adjust something about it, because I really thought it was important. For me, it was, my clothes were like my children, and my customers were like my family, and so I was very emotionally connected to both the people who bought the clothes from me and the clothes themselves. So it was never commercial. I don't know whether that made me a good designer or not, but I went to bed feeling good about myself, and that was very important to me. Thank you.
You are in London. You go through a red light. By the time you get to the next red light, there's a couple standing there. Stop. They are going to get you for what you are wearing. In Ghana here, the president, oh, Charlie, and then you go. Unknowing to you, some little child saw the red light, wanted to cross, you knocked the child down. So this is the discipline in the design that I'm talking about. We're going to go around. I have too much to say, but I don't want to waffle on. So let's move on to the next.
No, you're barely waffling on. You're dazzling us. It's razzle dazzle right now, and it's amazing. I actually want to do some quick follow-up questions to each of you and some of what you said. You speak a lot about design as discipline. Design is discipline. But at the same time, some of the other panelists have talked about the uniqueness of design. But it feels like is design as discipline doesn't mean that it's structuring as opposed to giving everybody something different and original and innovative. You don't give the same dress. I mean, what kind of discipline? Why do we need that discipline?
Is the discipline which makes that chaotic. You see, a creative person at work is like opening about, somebody said, about 127 applications on a computer, because it is a form of madness. All the different intangibles have to be brought to bear. But you see, I disagree slightly with Augustus. I like the challenge. People bring me the most stupid of fabrics. That is my point of view. I'm being subjective here. Impossible fabrics. And they say, oh, Kofi, we know you can do something out of it. And initially I go, no. Then I look at it again. Excuse my language, you bastard, I'm going to have you. Then I work with that fabric to try and make sense of it. That is just for my own ego and self-satisfaction. So if somebody comes to me and say, I saw that dress. You see, B was just making enemies. She didn't know that she lives in Ghana. And people are very conservative. So they come, I saw that dress and I like it. Don't bother saying no. Just say yes and then design as something new. I said, oh, but it's not that dress. I said, I know, I tried to make that dress for you, but I realized halfway through that dress would not work for you. So I adapted it to suit you. See the psychology. And there's a lady who studies psychology. You failed miserably. But design has to adapt to individual tastes. We are the orchestrators, the arbiters of it. I conduct. You come to my studio and you see me, at any given time, I'm thinking of about 20 things. Conducting, those 10 dresses are being made. Any given minute, I'll call the machinist and say, okay, let me see how this is going and what I'm designing, what I'm yet to do, and all that. The discipline is what makes it work. And I'm sorry to say, There are a whole lot of people in this country here, this town here, who call themselves designers. They are not.
Absolutely.
They are chaos merchants. Thank you.
Oh, wow, chaos merchants. I hope there are no chaos merchants around these parts. I'd like to follow up with you in almost a different view from what Uncle Kofi has offered, but you told a very interesting story about innovation and idiosyncratic symbols, and I think you value the originality and innovation. And can you tell that story and also tell us why for you it's so important in design to have that kind of innovation and originality?
First of all, I want to answer what, or rather give a replique to what Uncle Kofi here said. Where I come from, where I grew up. I come from Southport. Where I grew up, they say, if you don't have enemies, and you're really not a person of substance, then you're worth jack. Because you can't please everybody, and I've never tried to. So I made a lot of friends too. I still have customers from 20 years, ago, who still, no matter where in the world they are, they still come back to me because they know I'm honest. They know I would never sell them something that I think makes them look like Kakamotobi or anything like that. So that's just, but thank you. Anyway, yes, I do believe in originality. When I came down, apart from Kofi Ansah's absolutely gorgeous, unaffordable dresses, most people were doing things that I found basically quite banal, to put it mildly, and they were not fun to wear. I didn't think that anything was fun. We had very elegant, what we wear traditionally, don't get me wrong, our traditional kaba and slip is very beautiful. It's very elegant and I love it. And it was probably very appropriate for the traditional events that we had to attend, be it a funeral or christening, going to church. But back in the day, if you compare the scene then to now we wear short mini dresses in wax print to everywhere, to the nightclub. Back in the day, it was not so. Nobody was really doing that. Wax print and traditional cloth was reserved for church, exactly, for Sunday, for the funeral, whatever. Nobody was doing that. And having grown up out there and coming back as a diaspora, I really wanted to reconnect with my Ghanaian heritage, because I was busy reading Dostoevsky and Pushkin in Russia. So, when I came back, all this was new to me, it was fresh. I had a totally different take on things. I was very proudly Ghanaian and I wanted to, work with all of this. But then, the good thing about being mixed race or a person of multi-heritage is that you get to fuse your different heritages, your different cultures. And I realized if I just go about embroidering or, in my case, painting Jiname or Adinkra symbols, it's boring in a way because it's what everybody else was doing. So I invented basically symbols by combining bits of Cyrillic letters with Adinkra symbols. So I came up with completely...
Is this something that, in your estimation, is proven to work? I mean, should we worry about that?
I think good design is good business, and not because it's cliche and it's written in a lot of manuals. And of course, I did some research before coming to what the world thought about good design. But I'll bring it down to our level. This hotel we are in, how old is it? It's been done all these years. Whatever investment they made here has kept, turning over. Everybody loves the place, they love the environment. In fact, recently, they just redid some of the interiors to, bring it into this century. But it's a flexible design. So, yes, good design is good business. Let me also relate it to housing. There's a lot of apartments going on in our landscape, all right? There are a lot of, that's why I said good design. So there's a lot of bad design going on with some of those apartments in some places. The ones that have stuck to being good, and I've done no research but read a few, you realize that they are always, it's simple mathematics. If everybody's going to go charging $3,500 for an apartment, I might as well go to the one that is the best, the one that has sort of catered for all my needs, the one that responds to the environment, you know, the one that really appeals to me. And it's at that point that good design, you know, we think we don't know good design, but we do. When you see something that's good, and let me relate it to cars. Everybody sees an S-Class and it's something else. All right? It's never changed. If somebody sees a BM 7 Series, it doesn't change. So I'm very convinced that people will see the right thing when they see it. So if you don't mind and you hire somebody, and again, like Uncle you said earlier, we have an onus on us as clients who interface with architects to select the right design. And somebody will say, well, how do you do that? Some of those people have built before. You can go and see what they've done. In fact, some people have gone to see works that we've done and given us a phone call. I think for any architect, that's how it really sort of works. But there are also those young people, because remember, almost, if my mind says me, almost 4 years of coming out of school, most of my designs were on paper and in 3Ds. But people saw the ideas and wanted to go on an odyssey to try and see if we could change the way we live, so to say. And I've realized that those who've done those good designs, I mean, let me be careful about that, but the Villaggio sitting there, people are buying. Why? Because there's been some effort to try and create some icon, something that sits away from the community. And if I dare say, you realize now that a lot more people are following it. So you can't also be somebody who always goes with what's always existed. You have to sort of look for something that challenges the way we live. All right? If you look at that, those Villaggio would rent earlier than most of the other properties. Just because people want to be in that enclave. Design is a price element. All right? So that is one thinking. You are going to make money if you design the thing very well. If you hire Brawl to do it, Brawl will tell their clients that we have the following three, but we have our preferences. We think you should go here because everything works. It's not just the looks, it's how it works. It's how the engineering has been done. It's how the water flows to so many things. Let's come home to homes, houses. And a lot of people will come and approach and say, oh, I want to do my home. And, oh, you know, just do something for me. And I say to them, it's an asset. A house is an asset. You could create a house and it would have a sculptural value. That somebody from somewhere will come and stand there, look at the building and tell you, here's a check, get out of the house. And maybe the house costs X. But the value they place on it, they are willing to pay anything to stay in those buildings. I am privileged to know that the person who is staying in the Scott house now, I think it's a French businessman, went to Mrs. Scott and told Mrs. Scott that if he doesn't sort of rent the facility, somebody would come in because it's not making money, you know, destroy it. But he was interested in keeping that element. Scott House was built in 1957. It still has a value. And it's still earning money for the owner. So I think it's important for us, especially the public, clients, architects, and it's a challenge to everybody, the developers, the architects, everybody. Sometimes they think architects or creative people are worrying them, but we are not. We're actually looking for your best. Think about it. I won't live in the building. It's your building. And we're having a discussion about how we can create a great space. I personally believe that is an opportunity for us to show how great a people we are. Because I believe we're a great people. I personally believe that we are a great people and that our buildings, like our clothes, you know, should tell. Ghanaians have excelled to so many places. That's important. So if you ask me, it's good business. In fact, a client of mine, I won't mention his name, who was sitting, you know, in his house said, when I bring my partners here, they would sign $1 million tomorrow. So I think it's good business.
Dead, born and bred on Baku and bread. Take a leap of faith and watch my wings spread. Bachelor's pattern to pizza boxes. Count my blessings, count my losses. Monkey off my back, hold my horses. My heart's rate higher than the rate of divorces. No stress by the parking meter. The sounds of order. People my quarters, J for Yankee like I'm a villager. Big man and they treat me like teenager. The pressure, each out, party daylight, police and teeth bump. Now I go host, I'll be just Johnny, just come for make dough before me and when you drop down. My wife is no longer around. So wahala $4 and pounds. CDs and Naira, Francophone francs. If money talks, what does it cost to be frank? I didn't need speed, but my tank make empty. I didn't need vision, Mr. 2020. Charlie problems, chow chomp plenty, plenty. Oh, mommy say make I pray just maybe. But lately I just chuck I'm cool. My kitty they grow, they ain't come boo. My ego bruised, but refuse to lose. My alarm too loud, so I hit the snooze. Case of the blues, and it's not even Monday. It's high stakes, it's high. Me for 4, no snowflakes and cornflakes. These are the bricks and cook trying to relate. Hey, now everybody one logo line. Papa Dogo eat cocoa man of all kind. Chingalinga up 2 women were behind. Cancerous time, but we talking about design. 1 minute roundouts.
That was a roundup. He took 5 minutes. A minute ago, we were sitting here, speaking Ghana English. All of a sudden, they went to New York and came back. But seriously, industry is an ugly place without art or design. So it's life is design. When you wake up in the morning, how you take your bath, the bathroom that you take your bath in, the type of toothbrush that you use, even the colors in your toothpaste. Do you go up and down? Do you go sideways? Because the dentist told you that if you write this way, it gets out the plaque and all that. It's all a design. Okay, let's apply design into our life to make life a bit more beautiful. Because without design,
I'll be brief. My message is, do not be afraid to be great. Do not be afraid to sing your own song. Do not be afraid to be different and do your own thing, because you have to break the rules. You have to do something that has not been done before you. Other than that, you're just treading the same path that everybody else did before you. Obviously, and most probably would not be understood, but it makes no difference as time goes on. Your design that was misunderstood 20 years ago would become so relevant all of a sudden. And that's when you'll be able to impact people and impact change. Obviously, design matters, because as Augustus has been saying the whole evening, it's good design that matters. It's not just any design. But nevertheless, don't let anybody tell you that your design is bad, because people will try to tell you that what you're doing is crazy. But that's probably because they don't have the vision yet. So you pursue your design. You do it. But then, don't get too comfortable. Don't get too arrogant. Don't think that, okay, I'm a genius and everybody else is stupid. You know, as time, just allow, sometimes do heed some people who you respect and who you think have a vision. Yes, do listen to the advice. And also allow for change, because as you evolve, your own perception and your own perspective would also change. And maybe you would modify your design and it will get better. So, but nevertheless, as I said, don't let anybody sway you from pursuing your dream and your course. We need crazy people to make life fun.
I'm wondering, after a rap session, after Kofi and his anecdotes, and after B, what can I say? I think that what I would hope that we all take away from this is to the 3 people. Number 1, the architects, the designers, the creatives. We have to be good at what we're doing. We owe it to humanity to give the best service that we can. We have no business trying to think about our stomachs only, and that's the kind of thing that you see. And that's why our landscape, I'm speaking from my architectural point of view, is just cluttered with stuff that we can't be proud about. I think that it's important for designers, and back to I don't know, the guy who talked about education, he's still there. Yeah, I agree with you. Architecture schools have to take architecture seriously. Design schools have to take design seriously, and they have to teach the students to be passionate, to design with philosophy and concept. They used to laugh about it when we were in school. I remember a lot of people used to laugh and say, Mr. Concept, Mr. Philosophy, but that's why we're here today. So that's the first group of people I want to talk to. The second group of people are the clients, corporate and individual clients. Please, please, please. You owe it to yourself to spend your dollars very well. And I said dollars, not CDs, because nobody prices a contract in CDs. The CD is misbehaving. So it's important that because you're going to put $1 into construction, you owe it to yourself to get the designer to do something that truly works. Today, there's a lot of simulations in software, Revit, ArchiCAD, whatever. You can see your building before it's built and make them, put them on a coffee table and have a discussion about it. Because invariably, I believe that design, we need to be good citizens. Design has to be a good neighbor. It's good neighborliness. I call good design good neighborliness. Because if anybody came here right now with dirt on the shed and smelling, we won't be happy. A lot of clients will say to me, it's my house. But no, people may never enter your house, but they'll have the opportunity to walk by it. And if it's a blessing to them, it makes the environment better. To the bigger corporates like banks and those things, you are creating Ghana. It's important for you to make sure that this country is a great country that we believe it is. You have no business trying to go to Europe, look at glass-filled buildings and ask your architects to do the same thing. Again, my reference, the IFC. They have to take the IFC to show us, and a lot of other good buildings that we should do this. The third group, government. I'm sure there are few people in government here, and that's why I said to you, we can't continue to do this here. We need to take this to the streets, and we need to show them first of all, and once we do, we take them to it and let advocacy work so that this country will be a great country. Thank you.